commencer, M. Kirby.
Moi, je suis sur mon bureau mercredi passé. OK. Parce qu'il nous avait dit le vendredi, ben ça se peut, on attend, tu sais, François, François Lazare, Marin. Il a vu statut mais en fin de semaine. Et puis il a fait nous faire rentrer.
Robert,
Oui,
tu peux.
Oui, pareil.
Dès qu'il dit.
ok, excuse-moi. Okay. Call to order, be resolved that the present public meeting to consider a new zoning bylaw be opened at 6:30. Adoption of the agenda. Proposeur pour appuyeur, s'il vous plaît.
Karina. Stéphanie.
Et Karina, second.
C'est moi.
Disclosure of conflict of interest.
Non.
Non.
Okay. Numéro 4, new zoning bylaw.
Doug, can you hear us?
Hi, Doug, can you hear me?
He's maybe stuck in a snowstorm.
Technology.
Hi, Doug, can you hear me now?
That's technology.
Je pense qu'il est juste pas là, là.
Il est branché. Il était très connecté.
Je crois qu'il y a une difficulté avec sa connexion.
C'est le téléphone, là, il est,
À Doug?
À cause de la main.
Oh, pas de shot, c'est la fin.
Comme quand il y a de la neige, ça satellite à la maison.
Oui,
Et
Chris.
bon, il m'appelle en haut. Tu sortiras-tu avec ton balai? Et là, mais la game de hockey, je joue plus.
Cochonnerie.
Donc, il faudra t'en mettre le téléphone.
Ah, c'est lui qui arrive en cours.
C'est supposé se connecter.
It's faster than technology. Wow. Are we live here?
pas d'allure, le rescue truck. That's terrible. Ça. As-tu des juments qui ont pouliné?
Non, pas moi.
Any mares got their goals?
As-tu des juments qui ont pouliné?
Non, c'est la télévision, ok?
On
va
n'est pas sur la TV,
Oui.
encore?
Ben oui.
Bon, on doit te parler, on n'est pas des statues.
It's live.
I know, we're allowed to talk. We're waiting for Mr. Doug.
You must have taken the ditch, I can't see any alternative.
Could be the weather, you know.
La connexion Internet.
I seen Windmere. They show them every day.
Oh,
I seen a sale yesterday.
ouais.
One
Hi,
of
Doug,
the-
can you hear me?
one of the studs.
Ça va de cher, hein?
83 000. In the town.
J'aimerais ça qu'ils viennent ici.
Unreal. Unreal.
T'es correct, toi, Luc, c'est lui qui. Parce que toi, à chaque fois que tu
Ian
chaque fois que
Wilson
quelqu'un
sent
parle, on
me
voit
a
que
lot
notre
of,
micro il est correct.
Anytime
C'est
there's a
vraiment
sale,
lui.
Marner, he sends it to me.
C'est le fun de watcher ça.
Ah, moi j'adore.
Pas de...
Just 75,
Pas de
je
question
pensais,
de-
for a while, was 7,500. Là, j'ai commencé à lire la description du cheval. J'ai dit, ça se peut pas. Ça doit être 75 000. C'était 75 000 quand je l'ai pogné, moi.
Tu parlais de
Il y avait des Amish là, man. Fouf, fouf.
Les Amish,
83 000.
ah, non, il y en a qui bident, par exemple, mais
Ah oui, mais.
une belle tienne, là, ça vaut 25-30 000
Ouais, ouais,
Plongée. Mais il faut que tu y ailles là. Ça, c'est en américain.
ouais.
Mais ça coûte de l'argent, aller là.
Ouais.
Ça prend quelqu'un qui est capable de les préparer quand tu arrives là.
Hello.
C'est là que je demande beaucoup
Yes.
Ben, ça coûterait tellement cher juste pour ça. Préparer ça, mais ça fait rien, tu vas le chercher pareil.
Oui, 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 oui.
Tu vas chercher.
Put you on speakerphone and we'll see how it works there. I'll bring my phone in the front to Mr. Kirby.
Là, c'était sa dernière journée.
Okay, Doug, you're on speakerphone there. I've got my phone in front of Mr. Kirby.
Okay, thank you very much. I don't know what the issue is here.
We felt you were stuck in the snow. Are you still there?
Yes, I am.
Okay, good evening.
Hello?
Yes, hello, do you hear me?
Yes?
Okay. Do you have any comments for us or anything, or you waiting for questions or comments from us?
Well, I just thought I'd start with a few comments.
Okay,
We've been through the open house, and we circulated the draft zoning bylaw to various agencies, including the United Counties, and have received responses. The most recent responses we received came today from the United Counties, and they have some comments mainly to do with permitted uses. So, in the process over the last, since the public, since the open house, we've been making some revisions to the zoning bylaw, kind of based on staff review, comments from United Counties, and again, the new comments that we've got today. And so there have been some changes that we've made to the draft zoning bylaw, and there's going to be a few more changes to be made, mainly to do with permitted uses in some of the zones, based on the comments that we received today from the United Counties. United Counties today is that some of the permitted uses in the commercial and industrial zones that they don't agree with, they've committed to going back and looking at those again once they have reviewed and updated the United Counties official plan. So I think that's a good commitment from them, so that we can move ahead with the bylaw as quickly as possible, and recognizing that some of these permitted use issues can be resolved when the United Counties updates their official plan next. And I guess the other thing that we talked about was making some changes to the minimum lot area and minimum lot frontage where properties in the rural communities are on the municipal sewer system, so that if those properties are on the municipal sewer system, they don't need to be as big as in a rural area where you need to have a well and a septic system. So the idea would be to reduce some of those minimum lot areas and minimum lot frontages to allow development at a slightly higher density, because they don't need a septic system and all the land that takes up. Those are the major changes that would be made prior to giving you the final bylaw for passing.
Okay, Doug?
Yes?
On the final bylaw you're proposing to us, I feel there's going to be some more changes at the county level. For example, I'm going to be bringing to the planning department, which I've been working on for some time, is being able to swap agriculture with rural. Okay, we have places in East Hawkesbury that it's agricultural, it's on a gravel road, and it's all tiled. Okay, I want to swap that to marginal. I want to swap make that land agriculture and put residential where there's marginal land. Okay, and Mr. Provost's quite aware of it, and I'm hoping it'll be in their in the plan for the provincial approval. Like there's been a few more things that happened in the last week or two. Like, I don't mind going ahead with this, but I would like that. Should that be put into our plan?
No, you can't do that right now, because the county has to amend their plan before you can make any changes to the rural and agricultural zones in your zoning bylaw.
I understand that, but I'm going to be asking council to make a resolution and send it to the counties to have this changed, which we haven't done yet, but we'll be doing it shortly.
Yeah, that's not a short process, though.
Well, it's going to be in the process of the year. Like, he's planning on having this completed by May or June of next year, hopefully, and it'll be presented to the province for approval.
Yeah, but you want to wait on your zoning bylaw for upwards of a year, and you don't know, once the United Counties revise the official plan, you don't know how long it's going to take to get approved. So you could be looking at least a year, maybe 2 years.
Well, 2 years would be, it's not the intention of the members of council to have it drag for 2 years, but you never can tell. We have, the province is included in that too. Okay, as long as what...
Better to update your zoning bylaw or get your new zoning bylaw in place now, and then if the counties amend their official plan, then you change your zoning bylaw to recognize the changes that the United Counties have made.
Okay, that's fine. But the fact that the things we want to change and that we want county council to change, where do we fit this in? Okay, like we want to make these presentations, I might call, to the counties for these changes while they're making their plan. Now, is that you do that, or do we do that on our own, or how does that work?
Well, what you would normally do is you would talk to us about the changes that you would like to see.
Yeah.
And then we would produce some sort of report, doesn't have to be a big one, to the United Counties, asking for those changes and giving the rationale for them. And then they would, if they agree, they would amend their plan. And then you would be able to update your zoning bylaw to reflect that.
I suspect they're going to agree because they've agreed before. So it'll be the province that'll have to disagree, or it will become part of the bylaw. And another thing, and probably you're aware of this, if you own a property and you buy a property beside it, they amalgamate. We don't want that anymore at the county level. And maybe they brought that to your attention.
Well, that hasn't been the case for a long time.
Yeah, stupid.
Yeah, so, well, I don't know what the law is now, but they would have to be two properties beside each other that were created back in the 1970s or maybe 80s, where they would merge in title, but...
Well, if you own a property, if you own a property today in East Hawkesbury and you buy the adjacent property, like a lot, we'll say a house and a lot, then it automatically amalgamates, or how would I say that? It fusions in with the other property, and it becomes one property. And the county council don't want that, and it's not likely, unless the province object, but it's not likely gonna happen anymore.
Well, the province wouldn't object to that, but...
Well, they like objecting to things that they shouldn't be objecting to.
Yeah, the Planning Act was changed about 20 years ago, so that if you have a severance in the last 20 years or so, and you then buy a property next door, it won't merge in title. Basically, what the Planning Act was said now is, once you get a severance, you get a severance forever.
Okay,
So,
yes.
so there isn't any merging in title.
Okay.
Now, if you have two lots that were created back in the 1960s or 1970s, I'm not too sure if those would merge in title, but the way around it is, let's say if I were to do it, buy two properties next door to each other in East Hawkesbury, I would register one of those properties under the name of D. Grant,
Yeah.
and I would register the other one under the name of Doug Grant.
Exactly.
So they wouldn't merge if I do that.
No, but I agree what you're saying. But we at the county council don't want that anymore. I know an example where a person inherited a property and he had a house beside it. He had to change the name of the house because he ended up receiving the land along the house. But this is not just one example. There's many throughout the counties.
Yeah, it's important for people to understand that this is part of the land registry system.
Yeah, and it's part of the process that the land registration should adopt to what the people want. Okay.
Yeah, but they don't have a choice. And that's why it's important for people to understand that if you do have two lots that were created many years ago beside each other, you have to register them under two different names. And that's why, like the example I gave you, I would register one as D. Grant and one as Doug Grant. And so they wouldn't merge in title if I did that.
I understand, and that's the way it is now. But it's not acceptable anymore. As far as the county council. And another item that's been unquestioned, which you probably know, is that years ago, they went around, the planner went around, making, quarries, that's not quite the right word, but, aggregate, how would I say that, aggregate,
Resources.
Yeah, mineral aggregate.
yeah, they went around saying, oh, such and such a place is aggregate. They never dug with a shovel or said, or decided that, they just decided that in their head. Now we're in the process of taking that out. There's places where houses are built, and it's aggregate, where they could, where they consider there's a quarry there. They're trying to straighten these things out. But if it's okay to go ahead with this the way you say, fine. But be prepared that I think council's gonna wanna change these things.
Well, I tell you what we have done is that we've removed the aggregate pit and quarry zone on properties where there is no license. So those are no longer zoned as a pit or a quarry if the property doesn't have a license from the ministry to operate a pit or a quarry.
So that's a good move.
Yeah, and so we've done that. The issue is, under the county official plan, is they've identified areas that are considered to be aggregate resource lands because there are deposits.
Well, did they go and dig and find out, or are they just doing it in their head from sitting behind a bureau?
Ministry of Natural Resources and Forestry.
I never seen them out dig it.
Well, what they've done is they've put it in their official plan, not as a land use designation, but as an overlay. And there are policies associated with what can or cannot be done there. But it's all tied back to the provincial policy statement that it's something that the United Counties must do.
Yeah. And that's,
So what we've done with your zoning bylaws,
it's correct, we're gonna do,
step forward, down, or put it in your zoning bylaw as an overlay zone, so that the aggregate reserve zone would overlay either the agricultural or the rural zone, so that those regulations in the agricultural zone and rural zone, they would apply subject to the protections that are required under the provincial policy statement to protect those lands from, so that they can be used in future for extraction.
so you're saying, for example, if there was a whole, there could be houses on those lands.
Yes.
Yeah. So if they decided they wanted to use it in the future, they'd come in and tear down the houses?
No. Well, if there's a house located on a property that is in the agricultural reserve overlay zone, all that does is that limits a future pit or quarry operator from how they can establish a new pit or quarry on that property. They have to maintain minimum distance separations from existing houses. They have to make sure that they, mitigate noise and dust and all of those things to protect any existing dwellings that might be located near a property where someone is proposing to put a pit or quarry.
Okay, I'll just go over one more comment, and maybe members here of any comments. On the fact that I want to, or with approval of council, where there's a tile drained prime agricultural land, and it's zoned rural, okay? I want to be able to remove that designation and put it to what it should be, agriculture. And where there's marginal lands that don't grow well and they're zoned agriculture, I want to move them out of there and
Put them rural.
put them rural. Excuse me.
Yeah.
Okay.
And
So do I need you to present? Does council need, if they decide they want to do it, do I need you to make a paper and a resolution to present to county council?
yes, because you
Okay.
can't do it until the county amends their official plan. And
Just a minute, please, till they amend, but shouldn't they have it before they amend it? Otherwise, we'll have to make an amendment to change it. Would that be correct?
well, what would happen is, if you think that that there are errors in the rural zone and the agricultural zone, and you want those changed, you can't change those until the county changes its official plan. So you have to wait for that to happen.
Even if it's another county?
Well, I mean, you're a very knowledgeable person, I don't deny that, that's for sure. And I'm probably giving you a hard time here maybe, but it's not my intention. But I've seen so many things at the planning level in this township that I've had to defend and fight for, that I would not want to see someone else have to do it. Like when you got properties, and all this was done by somebody sitting at a desk and saying, okay, that should be aggregate, that should be agriculture, and that should be rural. That was all done like that.
Yes, I agree.
Thank you, that's what I wanted you to say.
The situation is those changes have to be made in the county official plan before you can do them in your zoning bylaw.
That's right, I agree. But shouldn't they have before they change their plan, shouldn't they have our presentation of what we want in their new plan, or no?
Yes, that is.
Okay, that's why I'm asking you, should you make something like that we could approve, that you would agree on? Do you agree that these lands should be swapped?
Well, you have to look at them, to.
Well, you
decide
wanna
whether
come,
or
it's
not-
hard to look at them with the snow. Are you gonna come down and we'll look at them?
Oh, no, it's more of a, it's not really a site inspection
Oh,
exercise.
okay.
It's more of a, what you would call a desktop operation, where you would look at, the provincial information on what.
Provincial information is not accurate, Doug. They just sat at the desk and did all this.
Exactly, so if you wanna change that, then you have to come up with, some sort of, planning study that would support those changes.
Exactly, that's what I'm asking you. Should you come up with this planning presentation to be able to change it? Like if me going there and saying that I think it should change, I did that hundreds of times, and they don't listen. And in fact, my planner at the counties agreed with agreed to have this changed, and Kingston disagreed. Like what happens in Kingston is not what happens in East Hawkesbury. They have a hard time understanding that.
Yeah, I know.
And if you speak to the people at Kingston, they know me well, don't worry.
Well, it's certainly something that we can do. The question is when to do it. Because you're talking about a process that is very lengthy. The PPS makes it really difficult to take land out of an agricultural designation and change it to something else.
Excuse me, just stop 1 second. When you said who feels difficult about that?
The provincial policy statement
Yeah,
makes
but
it difficult.
Who is that? Who is that?
The provincial policy statement?
Yeah, who is that?
That's the ministry.
Yeah, I agree.
So that's Kingston.
That's Kingston. Kingston,
Interpreting the provincial policy statement as to what county or local municipality can and can't do in terms of their official plan.
anyways, we've gone on this long enough, and
Well, what I can tell you is that there's a couple of things that I have to talk to Luke and Amy and Jesse about over the next couple of days. And why don't I talk to them about what I think would be needed in order to make these changes.
I don't mind. I'm sorry for cutting in. I don't mind you talking to Jesse and Amy and Luc at all, but I want you to talk to council too, on the same subjects.
Oh, yes, yeah, definitely, but I think I need to, talk to them first, and so that we can kind of sort out what it is that we would think you would need to do, and then we would come back to you and say, council, this is what you would need to do in order to change any of this aggregate reserve or agricultural lands. And
The aggregate-
the thing that would happen is that would have to be done as an update to the county official plan.
The aggregate business is being taken care of by the counties. That they've agreed to do. The only thing that we have left here that I would like to see changed, provided council agrees, that the fact of being able to swap rural land with agriculture. You can swap industrial and commercial, can't you?
Yes.
Yeah. Why can't we do it with agriculture and rural? Eh?
The issue is with the agricultural land, it's considered to be a high priority resource.
Only if it's good agricultural land. I've been farming. I'm 73 years old. I hate to say that, but I've been farming all my life, and I know the difference between land that produces and pays the bills and that that don't.
Okay, that change can be made, you know, that's, not an issue in and of itself. What the issue is the process that you have to go through and how much time that takes. And do you really want to hold up your new zoning bylaw for upwards of 2 years, waiting for that to happen?
I understand that, and I don't want to hold it up for 2 years, but there's no need to hold it up for 2 years. This decision has been on the table in Kingston for years, okay? You asked Louis Provo, and he agreed and supported me with all the mayors sitting at the table, and Kingston refused it. Yeah, that's something else. When Kingston can refuse something that all the mayors of Prescott and Russell supported, plus our planner.
Yeah, well, that's...
You should talk to Kingston about this.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
the real issue there is, you want to pick a fight with the ministry.
Oh no, it's already been picked years ago.
Yeah, the only way you can pick a fight with them is take them to the, local planning appeals board, the tribunal.
Yeah, and that'll cost the township a whole lot of money, and I won't do that. And they know that.
Yeah, and it'll take years.
Yeah. Anyways, I'll just, members of council, do you have any questions?
No.
Okay, continue, Doug. We'll not get on this subject anymore, and we've taken enough of time, and you give your final comments of what you want seen done.
Well, have you received any comments or submissions from anyone in the sort of general public, any of your residents?
Not that I know of. Administration would have told us, and I don't think there was any.
Yeah, I haven't heard of any either, so what we have outstanding right at the moment is those latest submissions that we got today from the United Counties that we'll have to sort through and decide what changes need to be made to the bylaw before you can pass it. And those changes, I would like to be able to talk with Luke, Amy, and Jesse about those in the next day or two, so that we can all agree on what changes to make or not make. Because we don't want to get into a situation where we have to fight the United Counties at a local planning appeals tribunal.
No danger, that won't happen.
Okay, well, let me sort out those issues. Like I said, I don't think they're big issues, and we know that the United Counties, in the submission that they sent today, have said that they are willing to work with us in the future to resolve some of these outstanding issues the next time that the official plan is updated. So that's the good news. We might not get everything we want today, but in the next update of the official plan, we may get some of these things.
In the next update, do you mean like in 10 years?
Well, I don't know when the United Counties is going to be updating its
Oh.
official plan.
Oh, the one they're doing presently? We're doing one now.
They're updating it right now?
Well, in the process of a year roughly, they're making changes and updating it, yeah.
Okay, well, this is an opportunity then, this is a time for the township to say, okay, if you're gonna update your official plan, these are the changes that we would like to see made.
Exactly. That's what I've been saying, but maybe I did a poor job of explaining it.
No, I understand, but I guess because this is such a lengthy, time-consuming process, like upwards of 2 years, I think what I would recommend to you is go ahead with your new zoning bylaw now and start the process of going to the United Counties and saying, okay, these are the changes that we want you to make to your official plan. And once those changes are made, then you would go back and say, okay, now that the United Counties has changed their official plan, we can update and change our zoning bylaw.
Okay, I could live with that,
Okay,
provided council does.
yeah, I think that's the way to go, because you don't want to be delaying your new zoning bylaw for, like I say, upwards of 2 years. You want to get it in place. And then, if you get these changes that you want, then you can change your zoning bylaw. I mean, that's exactly what happened to your existing bylaw. Your existing zoning bylaw goes back to 1994. But in 2003, you did a really big amendment to that bylaw to make a whole bunch of changes that you wanted, because, the world had changed from 1994 to 2003. Well, what you would do today is you would have a new zoning bylaw in 2021, and then you might be doing an update to that bylaw in 2022 or 2023 to make these changes that you want to see, especially to the agricultural and rural lands, and maybe to the aggregate reserve lands.
Okay, I have a member of council here who'd like to ask a question.
Yes, Mr. Doug, my name is Simon. Back to the aggregate. If a landowner has a part of his land zoned aggregate, and you say that it could be changed, will he be advised before the change, or it's only the zoning will be changed and he's got nothing to say about it?
Well, what we've done is the only lands that we have taken the aggregate zoning off of are lands that have never had a license. So if you don't have a license, you're not, under the new bylaw, going to be zoned for a pit or a quarry.
Okay.
Because the two things have to go hand in hand. You have to have the zoning and you have to have a license. So if you don't have a license, then you wouldn't get zoned to allow that right now. What would happen is if you wanted a pit or a quarry, you would apply for a license and you would apply for a zoning bylaw amendment, and those two things would run simultaneously through the approval process.
Okay, thank you.
But if you've got an existing quarry or an existing pit and it's got a license on it, then you will be zoned in this new zoning bylaw to allow that.
Okay.
I got another question from another member of council.
Hi Doug, it's Stephanie. Hi, I'm just curious, if there's a zoning aggregate, but is it possible that it could be residential, like rural, so they can build?
That's a really good question, and it depends on what sort of development is surrounding it.
Houses.
If other houses in the area and a new house wouldn't add any restrictions to a future pit, then it would be allowed.
Is it possible that they will ask the new builders or owners to pay to have something dug for them to prove, is it like that it's not for use of pit, even if they just want to build a house? Is it possible that they'll ask for a sample of ground or soil or anything like that? It's gonna cost money to the new owners?
Normally not. Normally you would look at the uses in the area. If there are a lot of houses already there in a rural area or in the rural zone, then that probably would not pose a problem in terms of another house being built there. But if you're out in the middle of kind of nowhere, you certainly wouldn't get a severance to create a new lot for a house. But if you've got an existing lot, then you could probably build a house.
Okay,
Just-
thank you, Doug.
Just to add to another comment, we had this is personal, but it's not, we had land on the river, and the two families had to divided the land, and we couldn't get a severance without hiring a planner to do, I don't know what you'd call that, because it was zoned aggregate, so we had to hire a planner. It cost $3,000 or $5,000 to be able to sever it.
And it was on Front Road.
Yeah.
That's really unusual because
Yeah.
there's so much housing on Front Road that inserting a new house or creating a new lot for a house wouldn't interfere with any future aggregate operations.
Oh, but it was designated aggregate. Anyways, unless you have some more to offer us, I'm sure you do, but we're on a timeline. Some people are pointing fingers at me here, so.
Okay, well, like I said earlier, we've got these latest revision requests from the United Counties. We've also been talking over the last month or so about some other revisions based on the open house staff review. I'm in the process of updating your zoning bylaw as we speak so that it can be ready to be adopted very quickly. So I'm going to go ahead with that. In the meantime, I will be contacting Luke, Amy, and Jesse to talk about some of the latest revisions that have come in from United Counties, and we'll be talking to them as well about the reduced lot area and frontage requirements where a lot can be connected to your municipal sewer system. And so once all of those things have been resolved, then we will have a draft zoning bylaw that's ready for you to pass.
My last comment, don't give Jesse, Amy, and Luke any bad ideas, please, because then it's very difficult to defend ourselves with.
I'll try not to.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. Is there
Okay.
any more questions? Or,
No, I don't think so.
We have,
Thank you.
okay.
thank
Good
you.
night, everyone.
Bye.
Thank you, Doug.
Ben oui.
Oui, mais on a un autre meeting à 7 heures.
We have two presentations.
Ah, ben.
OK.
C'est important, par exemple.